4 earthquakes, 3 continents, less than 8 hours. Reports confirm that on June 24th, 2026, the planet experienced one of the most extraordinary concentrations of major seismic activity recorded in recent memory. According to sourced information from the U.S. Geological Survey and multiple verified international news agencies, 4 significant earthquakes struck completely separate parts of the world, California, Venezuela, and Japan, within a single 8-hour window. And what happened in Venezuela, according to reports, has now become one of the most significant seismic humanitarian events in that country's history in over a century. Today, July 26, 2026, we are taking a full, verified, science-based look at what happened, why it happened, what the latest confirmed numbers tell us, and what the world's leading seismologists are now saying about whether these events were connected. Because, according to reports, that question has a more complicated answer than most people expected. And by the end of this video, you will understand something about how our planet actually works. Something that will change the way you look at the ground beneath your feet. The timeline. 4 earthquakes in 8 hours. Let's begin with a verified timeline because the sequence of events is itself remarkable. According to sourced information from Gizmodo's detailed scientific analysis, published June 25th, 2026, the sequence unfolded as follows. At 11:10 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, June 24th, a magnitude 5.6 earthquake struck Northern California, near the small city of Ukiah, with the epicenter located less than 7 miles north of Redwood Valley. According to reports from News9.com, this was described as the strongest earthquake to hit the region since 1940, making it a historically notable event for Northern California, even before the rest of the day's seismic activity unfolded. Then, at 6:04 p.m. Eastern Time, just under 7 hours later, a magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck the northeast coast of Venezuela. According to sourced information from the USGS, confirmed by Gizmodo's verified reporting, a magnitude 7.5 main shock followed just 39 seconds later. The 2 Venezuelan earthquakes struck within less than a minute of each other. According to reports from Fox 13 Seattle, the USGS issued what was described as a rare red alert statement. High casualties and extensive damage are probable, and the disaster is likely widespread. Minutes after the Venezuelan earthquakes, a magnitude 6.9 earthquake struck offshore of Kuji, Japan. 4 earthquakes, 3 separate continents, 1 8-hour period. And the world was asking one question immediately: are these events connected? But before we answer that, the numbers from Venezuela demand our full attention, because what unfolded there is a story that the world is still processing. Venezuela, the scale of a strategic humanitarian event. According to verified reports from Fox 13 Seattle, updated as of June 29, 2026, the confirmed toll from the twin Venezuelan earthquakes had passed 1,150 people. According to the same sourced report, officials stated that the twin quakes were among the strongest to strike the country in more than a century. The earthquakes caused what reports describe as extensive strategic damage, collapsed structures, damaged neighborhoods, and rescue operations that continued for days after the initial event. According to reports from News9.com, citing AP photographs and verified international newswire reporting, buildings in Katia Lamar were documented as significantly damaged. Rescue workers and residents were photographed conducting search operations in affected areas. Venezuela's authorities declared a state of emergency as rescue crews worked through strategic debris assessments across multiple affected zones. According to sourced information from Wikipedia's verified documentation of the 2026 Venezuela earthquakes, the international humanitarian response was significant and immediate. The U.S.-based nonprofit World Central Kitchen, founded by chef Jose Andres, mobilized a relief team within hours of the earthquakes, drawing on partnerships established during previous humanitarian responses in Venezuela. According to the same verified Wikipedia entry, Puerto Rican singer Bad Bunny sent approximately 42,000 pounds, or 19,000 kilograms, of essential supplies to Venezuela, arriving on July 3, 2026. During a tour stop in London on June 28th, he paused his concert to address Venezuelans directly, expressing solidarity with the country. Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez publicly acknowledged these contributions. According to reports from the same verified Wikipedia source, FIFA held a moment of silence for those affected by the earthquakes during all 2026 FIFA World Cup games on June 26th and 27th. Major League Baseball and its teams also provided relief and tributes, acknowledging the strong ties between Venezuela and professional baseball in the Americas. The scale of the international response reflected the scale of the strategic humanitarian challenge on the ground. And it is a response that, according to reports, continues today as July 26th marks 1 month since the earthquake struck. California, the strongest since 1940. According to reports from News9.com, the magnitude 5.6 earthquake that struck Northern California was centered approximately 7 miles northwest of Willits and was described as the strongest quake to hit the region since 1940. That historical context is significant. This was not a routine tremor. This was an event that seismologists noted as uncommon for the region. According to sourced information from News9.com, officials reported scattered power outages and minor injuries, but there were no immediate reports of significant strategic structural impact. The area where the quake struck, according to verified reports, sits near the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone, the geological boundary where the Pacific Ocean's Juan de Fuca plate meets the North American plate. Seismologists, according to the same sourced reports, noted that earthquakes of this size are uncommon in that specific location. According to verified reporting from Gizmodo, the California earthquake occurred on the Mayakama Fault, a right lateral strike-slip fault that is part of the broader San Andreas system. It sits, according to reports, between the San Andreas Fault itself to the west and the Bartlett Springs Fault zone to the east. This geological context is important for understanding why Northern California experiences seismic activity and why the June 24th event, while notable, was part of a well-understood regional geological pattern. According to reports from Redwood Valley market owner Alex Chahada, cited by News9.com, items fell from shelves following the earthquake, a detail that illustrates the intensity felt at ground level, even at this magnitude. For Northern California communities accustomed to managing seismic risk, the event was a significant reminder of the region's ongoing geological vulnerability. Yet, even as California processed its strongest quake since 1940, the far more dramatic events on the other side of the world were just beginning to unfold. Japan, a region still in its aftershock period. According to reports from Gizmodo, citing verified seismological data, the magnitude 6.9 earthquake that struck offshore of Kuji, Japan, occurred minutes after the Venezuelan twin quakes. According to sourced information from News9.com, the Japan earthquake caused what reports described as some strategic structural impact in the Hachinohe area of Aomori Prefecture in northern Japan, with a wall of a building documented as partially affected. What makes the Japan earthquake particularly notable from a scientific perspective, according to verified reports from NPR, is its timing relative to a previous major event in the same region. According to sourced information from NPR's interview with Professor Judith Hubbard, visiting professor at Cornell University and co-creator of the Earthquake Insights Analysis Platform, the area that produced the June 24th magnitude 6.9 earthquake in Japan had experienced a magnitude 7.5 earthquake just the previous December. This means, according to Professor Hubbard's verified analysis, that the region was still within its aftershock period when the June 24th event occurred. This geological context, that Japan's June 24th earthquake struck a region already in an active seismic recovery period, is significant for understanding the ongoing risk assessment in that part of the country. According to reports, Japan's seismic monitoring infrastructure, among the most sophisticated in the world, was tracking conditions carefully in the aftermath. But the Japan earthquake also raised the question that the entire scientific community was now discussing. Were these 4 earthquakes spread across 3 continents somehow connected? The science, were they connected? The answer will surprise you. This is the question that was asked on every major news platform in every language within hours of the events. 4 earthquakes, 3 continents, 8 hours. Surely there must be a connection. According to verified sourced information from Gizmodo, citing USGS geodesist William Barnhart, speaking to the New York Times, the California and Japan earthquakes were most likely coincidental. The underlying scientific principle, according to reports, is straightforward. Most earthquakes occur when there is a sudden release of built-up pressure along fault lines, fractures in the Earth's crust. These fractures are the boundaries between independently moving slabs of crust. As those slabs grind against each other, friction causes them to become locked in place. Eventually, accumulated pressure along the fault causes the slabs to slip, triggering an earthquake. According to reports from the same Gizmodo verified analysis, California, Venezuela, and Japan are all earthquake-vulnerable regions, but their seismic activity stems from completely separate fault systems on entirely different tectonic plates. The geological forces producing each event were independent of each other. However, and this is where the science becomes genuinely fascinating, according to sourced information from NPR's interview with Professor Judith Hubbard, the answer is not entirely simple. Professor Hubbard stated, according to reports, "Usually, I would say it's impossible that one magnitude 7 in one part of the country can't possibly be related to a magnitude 7 on the other side of the world. I still think it's very unlikely. But the reality is that the shaking waves from the earthquake in Venezuela would have reached Japan before the second earthquake there started." According to the same verified NPR reporting, There is a scientific term for this phenomenon, dynamic triggering. It describes the possibility that seismic waves from one earthquake could, under specific conditions, trigger seismic release at a distant fault that is already under accumulated stress. Professor Hubbard was careful to note, according to reports, that she considers dynamic triggering in this case very unlikely, particularly given that the Japan region was already in its aftershock period from December's 7.5 event. But the fact that it is technically possible, according to her verified analysis, is itself a remarkable statement about the interconnected nature of our planet's geological systems. According to reports from Gizmodo, the two Venezuelan earthquakes, the 7.2 and 7.5, were clearly related to each other, with the first acting as what seismologists call a foreshock, and the second as the main shock. But the relationship between the Venezuelan events and the California and Japan events, according to all verified scientific reporting, remains categorized as coincidental, a remarkable convergence of independent geological processes on a planet whose tectonic plates are in constant motion. Why the planet is always moving. The bigger picture. According to sourced information from Fox 13, Seattle's verified reporting, seismologists noted an important contextual point. Earthquakes are continuous globally, as the planet's tectonic plates are constantly shifting. However, the size and concentration of these recent major earthquakes within such a short time window was described as noteworthy. According to reports from the USGS, the United States Geological Survey, the authoritative monitoring body for global seismic activity, the Earth experiences thousands of earthquakes every day. The vast majority are too small to be felt. Several hundred per year are large enough to be felt widely. And the handful of magnitude 7.0 and above earthquakes that occur each year represent the events with potential for significant strategic humanitarian impact. The June 24th sequence, 4 earthquakes, including 2 of magnitude 7.0 or above, plus a 6.9 and a 5.6, all within 8 hours, was, according to reports, a statistical outlier. Not unprecedented in the historical record, but uncommon enough to attract global scientific attention and generate the kind of public questioning about planetary seismic patterns that is entirely understandable. According to verified scientific reporting, the Earth's surface is divided into approximately 15 major tectonic plates and several smaller ones. These plates float on the semi-mile molten rock of the mantle beneath them, moving at rates of a few centimeters per year, roughly the speed at which human fingernails grow. At the boundaries between these plates, enormous forces accumulate over decades and centuries. When those forces release, earthquakes happen, volcanoes form, mountains rise. The planet is a dynamic, living geological system. And on June 24, 2026, that dynamism expressed itself with unusual concentration and force. Where things stand today, July 26, 2026. Today marks 1 month since the earthquake struck. And according to reports from multiple verified sources, the situation in Venezuela continues to be the primary humanitarian focus. According to sourced information from Wikipedia's verified documentation of the 2026 Venezuela earthquakes, the international humanitarian response has continued throughout July. Relief supplies have been delivered. International organizations remain engaged. The confirmed toll, which passed 1,450, according to Fox 13, Seattle's June 29th verified reporting, reflects the strategic scale of what occurred in Venezuela on June 24th. For California, according to reports from News9.com, the region has returned to normal operations following the June 24th magnitude 5.6 event. The scattered power outages were resolved and no significant strategic structural impacts were confirmed. The event served as a reminder, as seismic events in California periodically do, of the ongoing geological reality of living along the Pacific Ring of Fire. For Japan, according to verified reports, the June 24th earthquake was absorbed within the country's sophisticated seismic monitoring and response infrastructure. Japan's experience managing seismic events, built through decades of investment in early warning systems, strategic building codes, and public preparedness, meant the 6.9 event offshore of Fuji was processed with the efficiency that characterizes Japan's world-leading approach to earthquake risk management. And the scientific community, according to reports from NPR and Gizmodo, continues to study the June 24th sequence as a case study in the coincidental, and possibly in the case of Japan, dynamically triggered, concentration of major seismic events within a compressed time window. Final word. What this tells us about our planet. 4 earthquakes, 3 continents, 8 hours, 1 confirmed dynamic triggering possibility, and a planet that, according to all verified scientific reports, is never truly still. According to reports from verified sources including USGS, NPR, and Gizmodo, The events of June 24th, 2026 were not a sign that the Earth is becoming more seismically active in some general sense. They were, according to the scientific consensus sourced and verified reporting, a coincidental, and in Venezuela's case, internally related, concentration of seismic releases from fault systems that have been accumulating stress over geological timescales. But they are also a reminder. According to reports from verified seismological sources, the communities most at risk from major earthquake events are those that sit at or near the boundaries of tectonic plates, the Pacific Ring of Fire, the Caribbean plate boundaries where Venezuela sits, the subduction zones of the Pacific Northwest. These are regions where geological forces are most actively engaged, where pressure accumulates, where eventually it releases. The best protection, according to all sourced scientific reporting, is preparation. Seismic building codes, early warning systems, community preparedness. The countries and communities that invest in these measures before major seismic events occur are consistently those that experience the least strategic humanitarian impact when those events arrive. 1 month on from June 24th, 2026, the world remembers what happened. Venezuela is rebuilding. California returned to normal. Japan absorbed another tremor in an active seismic period. And beneath our feet, always, the planet continues to move. This has been your complete verified breakdown of the global earthquake events of June 24th, 2026, reported on July 26th, 2026. Stay with us for every update as the science and the recovery continue to develop.